Hi guys, welcome back to BJ on Game Day, third podcast for us as a duo. Today we'll cover another 4 teams. We'll cover the Cows, Eels, Rabbits and the Sharks, and we'll run through again some of their guns, mid-ranges, maybe some cheapies from a few of those teams. And so we'll tell you our thoughts, and we'll start off with the Cowboys.
Jason Tamalolo, big Lolo. He's 668,000. So he's only behind Tommy Trbojevic in price. Mate, last year he just got better. He just got better and better last year, 2017. 16, I think he averaged sort of in the mid-60s. Last year with Thurston out, with Matt Scott out, he really took that senior role, and I just can't see why he can't do it again.
Yeah, mate, definitely. Dally M, the season before that, probably one of the best forwards on the planet, I'd say. Supercoach wise, there's a reason why he's one of the most expensive players in the game. That being said, he only averages around that 65-minute mark,
Big points per minute.
Big points per minute, hard to tackle, hit-ups, they're all there.
Tackle bust, line breaks, it's all there. Yeah.
And I think the addition of Thurston this year, the fact that he was missing, is only going to add to his game. Yeah. If the other teams are thinking about Thurston, it just means there's another set of eyes that aren't on Tamalolo. Yeah. So if you do go him, you can't go any wrong, I don't think. I know there's been some question marks over Scott now being back from injury, McLean going there, but I really can't see him having that much of a significant impact. So yeah.
All right, let's talk about JT. Obviously, he's had a couple of trials back. Average at best in the first one, but in the Memorial trial the other night for him and Cameron Smith, looked great. Set up a couple of tries. Really looks like he can just slide back in. He only played 7 games last season, but in 2 of those he scored over a ton. Look, there's not much more to say. He will bounce back. For me, he's just a must-have. You've got to have him in there. I think he's more important at the price he is. Mm-hmm. I think he's more important than Cameron Smith.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. I think you nailed it on the head. Last year, 7 games, 2 of those games he's turned up, and there was about a 4-week break from his 6th game to his 7th game, and in that 7th game, in between that month that he had off, he's turned up.
Yeah.
I echo what you've said. His price, he has to be there. He'll be in my team. If you don't have him, you're an idiot. Get him in there.
One guy that's going to benefit from JT coming back is Gavin Cooper in the second row. Big attacking second rower, and all of it is because of JT.
Absolutely, mate. He's I think he's coming into 2018 a bit underpriced. He's 412k for a back rower who is going to average basically 80 minutes or just about. He is someone that I think will be a pod in the back row this year. And the addition of Thurston is just going to mean points for him. He's not a back rower that you're picking for the base. You're picking him for that attacking ability. And we saw last year it just wasn't there for him, and I very much think that was due to Thurston not being there. So I think this year he's a sneaky little pod at 400k. I know there's some people looking at some other players around that price, but I think value for money, and again he has a little bit of that pedigree with Thurston back. He's a great option.
Yep. Front row, they've brought in Jordan McLean from the Melbourne Storm this year. Matt Scott's back as well. Let's talk a bit about Jordan McLean. Does a lot of base. He is basically purely base in his activity on the field. Can he develop that a little bit more at the Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if they've bought him for anything else, than to just truck it up as a bit of a backup plan for sort of Scott, what's going to happen once Scott's gone. He comes from Melbourne, averaging about 42 minutes a game in 2017. His points per minute is around just under 1 point per minute, so it's not too bad. For me, he's, I guess, that NAS mould from the Storm, so he has the potential. He's a similar sort of price as well, so he's 356. One to watch, I think, but I'd probably prefer NAS because he gives you that attacking potential more so, whereas McLean's just sort of, he'll truck it up, make the tackles, but it'll be one to watch, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Now, one I just wanted to talk about with you was Carlin Anderson. Really good player in the Queensland Cup, plays at fullback. There's a little bit of talk around at the moment about Lachlan Coote being suspect. My thoughts is that if Lachlan Coote is injured and doesn't play, that Tamara Martin will come into the team and probably Michael Morgan will go to fullback. But that said, I mean, this kid has got plenty of potential. He is a cheapie, he's a genuine cheapie at 164,000. I think come team list Tuesday, which is only a few days away, if he's named, he'll definitely be in my squad.
Yep. All right, moving on now to Parramatta. Now, bit of an intro on Para, mate. You have a look at their side on paper, and they are pretty much stacked for mine.
Yeah.
The back line's all class. The forwards, there's a few unsung heroes in there, but I think they're going to be a very hard team to beat in 2018. And that starts with some of the guys that we're going to talk about today. One of those being Clint Gutherson.
Yeah, obviously. Do we know when injury has got him due back? I think it may be round 4.
Yeah, so there's a bit of speculation whether it'll be round 1 or round 4, depending on who you believe. I don't know if he'll be back for round 1. I feel like it will be round 4 sort of thing, but there have been some people saying that Gutherson himself has said he'll be back for round 1, but we'll find out on Tuesday, definitely.
Yep.
I mean, that aside, last year he showed what he's capable of. He can, I think, for me, I'm not entirely sure what his best position is. And the interesting thing about him is where will he fit into that Para side once he comes back?
That's my biggest concern with Para. You've just said they are a stacked team. They've got superstars all through that back line. How do you fit them all in? How do you get that continuity within the team week in, week out? You've got Moses and Norman look pretty set in the halves. That sort of seems the way it is. Jared Hayne, Bevan French, Clint Gutherson. I think they'd all prefer to play fullback. I think all three of them, it is their best position. I think of those three, probably French is the most suitable for on the wing spot. But I think Jared Hayne, as silly as it sounds, I think maybe the other wing is probably the best spot for him when Gutherson comes back. Purely because Gutherson just showed how lethal he was last year. At Supercoach aside, he just showed how good he was in fullback. So I think that, look, it's a good problem to have for the coach, but yeah, how they fit them all in, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, mate, and I guess part of that problem is, I mean, for me personally, Supercoach-wise, I'd prefer someone else than Bevan French at fullback.
Yeah.
That being said, he's an amazing talent. He's a freak player. But the centre these days, I guess you can look at that as like, well, it's not quite, but similar to a 5'8" that's just one out. So I see Gutherson probably playing centre, and the same with Hayne. The other thing with Hayne, whilst he probably would be pretty good on the wing, I think they're trying to save his legs a bit.
Yeah.
He's one in closer to the ball. I don't think they're going to be getting him to cut it back from the kick returns and all that sort of stuff because he is getting a bit older now, that's all. But Gutho at 598k, you're taking a bit of a punt. If he was going to be starting 6 or starting 1, I'd say lock him in. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening, so he might not be relevant, but definitely a guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Their other gun from last year, Nathan Brown. Now, obviously, Brownie had a breakout season last year, played big minutes every game, big points every game. We see him at a price of $573,000. There's plenty of people who've got him in their team this year. What are your thoughts on him?
Huge fan of Brown. I'm calling him poor man's Gallen.
Yeah.
I can't afford Gallen this year, but I've definitely got room for Nathan Brown. I love the bloke, love watching him play. He's just tough as. He'll cut it up 3 times in a set if he has to, make the tackles. I think he's got a little bit of an offload there, but he's just come miles in the last couple of years, and I expect him to keep being a leader of that pack and just keep doing what he's been doing. So
yep.
He's a lock for me, and yeah, I can't say a bad word about him. Maybe he's one of those guys in previous years, his discipline's been a worry. More so when he was at South, but he seemed to have...
It seems like he's got past that.
He's got his head right, I think, now, and he's worried about footy. I see him potentially as an Origin player in the next, if not next year, in the next couple of years.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Mitchell Moses. Now, we just talked about the halves. Obviously, him and Corey Norman in the halves. from a Supercoach point of view, do they take anything away from each other?
Yeah, interesting one. I guess that would be the only question I have over picking someone like Moses. Is where you have two really good playmakers, are they going to are they going to take ball away from each other, or are they going to complement each other, or the defence has their eyes on this guy, they don't have their eyes on the other guy. So Mitchell Moses is one of those guys who can produce some big scores really quickly. I didn't really rate him, to be honest, a year or two ago, but there's no doubt the kid can play footy, and Supercoach wise he can ton up very easily. That being said, he also has those 20s and 30s in him. But I think at 450k this year, he's an awesome pod, and I think he's a good pod.
Yeah, okay. One of their cheapies, the big fella off the bench for the Roosters last year, he's gone to the Eels, is Kane Evans. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit hard to see how the Eels forward pack's going to line up. Obviously Brown's going to be there, Manners probably on his way out. We've talked about Alvaro probably going to the front row. Where does this guy fit in? Does he get the minutes to become effective? He's got a points per minute of just over 1, which is solid enough for someone, but you need them to get the minutes on the park. Yeah,
mate. My thoughts on Evans. He's got huge raps on him potential-wise as a footballer, and we probably haven't seen enough of him at the Chooks in terms of minutes to see what he's really capable of. We've all seen what he can do in terms of putting shots on. I saw him put a big hit on Burgess a couple seasons ago. So he's a big boy. He's physical. Supercoach wise, that just over 1 point per minute is good. If he can get 40-45 minutes, you don't know what else he might be able to produce in terms of the attack, whether he has a little offload or. We haven't seen enough of him, so it's going to be a question of his minutes. He was averaging 26 minutes at the Roosters last season, which is just not enough for him. I don't see him coming to Parramatta to be doing the same. I'd see him at least getting 40 minutes a week, if not more.
And these are guys that are just cash cows. They're really the ones you're looking at getting a quick 100, 150k out of, get that price rise, and change up to someone else.
And if he's getting 40 minutes, he'll do that for you. 240k, I think he's a good option to make you a bit of cash. That being said, Alvaro is probably going to be up front. Timmy Manor, they might be planning for life after Timmy Manor as well. But I see Alvaro playing a big role in that pack as well. But definitely an option, Kane Evans.
We'll move over to the Bunnies and Angus Crichton. Obviously signed for the Roosters from 2019. Had a massive year last year. Massive. Was absolutely huge. Had a high score of 166 last year. I remember that game.
Oh my God.
He scored 3 tries. He busted every single tackle that they looked at. This kid can play.
Yeah, mate. He's a gun, and where did he come from? Like, not where was he from, but he just seemed to come out of nowhere. I'd never heard of him until last year, and he got a few minutes at the start of the year, but then all of a sudden he got promoted to being like an 80-minute player, and he became extremely premium and extremely relevant very quickly.
But the way he turned into an 80-minute player was huge. Like, it wasn't just... Usually it takes guys in the forward packs to play 80 minutes of hard football. It takes you 2 or 3 seasons of building up to that. He went from being a 40 or a 50-minute player to being an 80-minute player, did not lose any effectiveness whatsoever. And, I don't think there's any reason why he can't do it again. My only concern is obviously signing with the Roosters, whether that affects his mentality on the field. But I just think this kid loves playing football, and he'll do the same this year.
Yeah, he's a natural footballer, isn't he? He can hit the holes. He's hard to tackle. He's got that good mind, that attacking sort of mindset. And I guess my only question about him is an inflated sort of price, $609k.
Yeah.
At some stage, depending on what happens with South, they're going to have to plan for life after Crichton, and I just wonder what moving to the Chooks will do to him.
Yeah.
They need him to play to start the season 100%. He's one of their best players. So I don't see any issues early on, but maybe a little bit later in the season, depending on how Souths go, you might need to reevaluate. But I also see South being a team that's gone under the radar a bit and dangerous this year. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Big Semi Burgess. What do we expect from him this year after what was not a bad 2017, but it definitely wasn't his best season?
Yeah, mate. I guess the most significant thing with Big Sammy this year is the rumours that he's going to be playing out on the edge now.
Yep.
So he's going to be moving out. Second row, he'll have a preferred side of the field. Last year, he found himself playing prop and in the middle a lot more. So in terms of base, it probably doesn't matter as much, but the attacking stats that he loses, he's a big, fast guy to try and stop, and he can score tries, and he is an attacking weapon. And I think we might see some of that again this year. In terms of minutes, he averaged 70 minutes last year, which is good. The year before, he averaged 72 minutes, so pretty much the same. But there was a 10-point difference in his averages. So last year he averaged 65 points, and then the year before that he averaged 75. So I think that movement from him going from the back row into the front row or lock is the difference in those each week. 2016, that's where he was predominantly, so I see him being there. I'm going to go with him. He's got that duality. He's a premium. Not a premium gun price, but he's you got to have a think about it at that 570.
For a player of his quality and what he can produce, 570 is quite affordable. You know, it's not. It's, you know, you look at blokes like Gerbo and that are 650. You wouldn't hesitate to take Sam Burgess over Gerbo when they're at the same price. The fact that he's 80k cheaper than that is a good sign.
And the fact that, in my opinion, the front row is a bit awkward this year, and you can pick him there, and that's where I've got him. I don't like a heap of the options in the front row this year personally, so I'm happy to pick him there, and he has that duality, so I like him.
You talked about obviously life after Angus Crichton. One kid that they blooded last year was Cameron Murray. Now Cameron Murray had, I think, half a dozen games, maybe a little bit more towards the end of the season. Had a 5-round average heading out of the season of, I think it was 69 and 65 or something like that. Again, another kid who's just sort of come onto the scene. They gave him a few 80-minute games last year and he really performed. He really stepped up. Alongside Burgess, alongside Crichton. I mean, that's a lethal back row. Murray at the 13 and Burgess and Crichton at the second rows.
Yeah, mate. Well, he proved he can play the minutes, which is a big thing. If he's going to be getting like 80 minutes or sort of what he was in the back end of last year, he potentially becomes extremely relevant. That being said, I don't know if it'll affect Sam's minutes. I guess being out on the edge, it probably doesn't. From everything I've heard, he'll play lock, which is going to be in the middle. If he's playing 80 minutes, he's pretty much a must-have. His base is solid as if he plays the 80. He's tough, just a good footballer.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see. He'll be someone that I have a real close look at in the first couple of weeks as well, just to suss out whether you need to get on him quick, because I currently don't have him. But he's definitely an option of a guy you could go to if you pick the wrong gun to start the year or something happens. He's an option you could go down to, for sure.
If we move into the South backs, one guy you wanted to talk about was Cody Walker.
Yeah, Cody Walker. So I guess I touched on it. I see South this year being potentially a very dangerous side, and I almost feel like they've flown under the radar a little bit. We haven't heard much about them, but I start thinking about their side when you got to think GI is back. He might not be 100% fit to start it, but he's back. They've signed Dane Gagai. Adam Reynolds, whilst I think he's going to be injured round 1, is a quality
and
every second round. Walker's just inked a new deal to keep him there, so he's got all that sorted now. He emerged only 2 years ago. In 2016, he averaged 67 points. Last year, he was not the player he was in 2016, but he still averaged 60 points. 528k.
Last year, they moved him around the park a lot. There was fullback, there was 5'8". It was just... I don't think he had that consistency in his game that, he could perform at 100%.
Yeah, and I think that GI not being there impacted that as well, because they had to keep trying to find a fullback, or if they lost Reynolds, they had to shuffle it around again. But yeah, I like him. He's 528k, so I guess it depends how you look at it. I don't actually have him in my side, but I see him being a bit of a pod, and in that South back line, when you got guys like Crichton, Burgess, Gagai, GI, even Alex Johnson, if other teams have their eyes on those guys, this is the kind of guy that's probably going to cause a lot of trouble for opposition sides, and definitely a good pot option, I reckon.
Cheapy in the South lineup, Richie Kenner. Now, obviously come from the Storm, didn't play at all last year. but he's come to South. Seems as though he's been given the wing spot. Again, we're going to find out a bit more on Team List Tuesday, but seems as though he's been given the wing spot. A couple of years ago, did average in the mid-50s in the centre wings when he, with the game time that he had. Could be someone, a bit of a cash cow there?
Yeah, mate, absolutely. I guess, he's come over from Melbourne, so he's been in a good system. I imagine he wants to play some footy, which he wasn't getting much of at Melbourne. So, that being said, there's a lot of competition for those outside back spots at South this season. So you've got guys like Heimel Hunt, who potentially is another option, cheapy option at 280. George Jennings, depending on what happens with GI, maybe Johnson goes back onto the wing. So my only issue with him, if he's named, awesome, and probably have to pick him because there's a lack of cheapy options there this year. But I'd probably just be a bit wary of the security. If he can produce, if he gets the spot and can produce a few good performances, I think it'll be good, but just a little bit wary on his security, that's all.
Okay. We move over to the Sharkies, my boys.
Hey.
And we've got, Corey Parker 2.0, whatever you want to call him, Paul Gallen. 36 this year. He is getting old. 674,000. He is priced up there fairly high. Can you have him?
Mate, I guess for me, he's got to stop eventually, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
You would think so. I mean, how does he keep going?
Man, he's like unbelievable. Supercoach wise, he's a king. He's a base king of the base, whatever you want to call him. He's royalty. He is a big price, but there's a reason for that. He only averages about 65 minutes a year throughout the season.
Yep.
And that's not going to increase. I can only imagine that that's going to slowly start to decrease, but I could be wrong. I don't know, and no one will be able to know that until we see how they go. You can't go wrong with picking him. If you've got the money there and you want him, I don't think it's an issue. And even if he averages 55 minutes this year, he's still going to be able to churn out the 70s. And
to me, from a Supercoach point of view, look, I don't have him in my team, but he's someone you want to wait 6 or 8 rounds to see whether he is as effective, whether injury starts to take a toll. If he is, by round 20 you've got to have him in your team because you just know what he's going to produce. The whole theory behind having sort of 17 or 18 guns by the end of the season that you've cashed up to get, he'll be one of them.
And if he doesn't start all guns blazing, he might drop. You could see him drop 50k or something like that, and then maybe you then think about him. He was a bit more relevant last year, and we didn't touch on this with Thurston, but he's not playing Origin. But I just think he's getting a little bit older now, and he's going to slow down. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong about that.
His partner in crime, Andrew Fafita. Now, both of them have got around the 1.2 points per minute per game. Andrew Fafita probably has a little bit more of a attacking range in him than Gallen does, but he's also got a little bit more inconsistency in him, I guess. Can he stop? As a Sharkies fan, the biggest thing I want to see about Fafita is all the bullshit come out of his game. The play the ball, the ruck area. They've said they're going to crack down on it this season. Is he going to get penalised a lot more, or can he mature enough that goes out of his game? And obviously we see that in the Supercoach level help him even more. Yeah,
mate, I mean, for mine, Andrew Fafita is up there with the most devastating players in the game when he turns up. We saw it in the 2016 grand final. He won it for the Sharks, and if he can get that stuff out of his game and not worry about little niggle with other players and that sort of thing, he can be just so devastating. He's so hard to tackle. He can score tries. Supercoach wise, I'm not sure that he's averaging around that 55 minute mark. I'd love to see him get a little bit more than that. Is he realistically going to say play 30 minutes of each half? Probably not. He's probably still going to be playing around the same sort of minutes.
You mentioned can score tries, which we know he can. He's got that line break in him and he's got that speed for a big man. Last year only scored 1 try. We talk about obviously the try he scored in the grand final. In 2016, I'm pretty sure he scored 8 or 9 tries for the season. We saw a drop in his average last year to 64. I think he was around 72 the season before. Yep. And I think that comes from the tries. He just sort of, I don't know, maybe people worked him out a little bit more. Maybe he just lost that effectiveness.
Yeah.
But I think if you can get back to those ways where he scores that half a dozen to 10 tries, you know.
Yeah, I think for him, I mean, just bringing it up now, in 2016 he only scored 2 tries. So I think for him, it's that tackle bust, offloads, maybe putting guys over if he gets the arm away. He can have good base as well. Like if he rolls his sleeves up, he can do a lot of hard work as well. So I haven't got him at the moment just because he did sort of disappoint me a little bit last year. But he's another guy where if he gets it right, I'll just sort of cringe having to watch him because he can be so devastating.
Yeah. Who we got next? Wade Graham.
Yeah. I really like Wade Graham this season as a pod option. I haven't looked at any of the percentages of ownership, which is probably a key factor in determining whether they're a pod. But I'd like to imagine he's probably a pod. 530k, 80-minute back rower. He's dangerous on the edge. He hits holes well and can score tries. He scored 4 in one of the World Cup games at the end of last year. Granted, the opposition probably wasn't there, but he did score a hat-trick last season as well. I think if you're looking for some alternatives to those big premium price back rowers like Joe or Mannering or Gow, this guy is significantly cheaper and offers a lot of potential.
Just a little, a little trivia there. 4 tries in that game from Australia. 3 tries hat-trick last year. Mm-hmm. The season before he scored 3 tries, all at Canberra Stadium.
Oh wow.
So he obviously comes to Canberra, he doesn't mind the cold. But yeah, look, definitely a pod that you could consider. 520,000, does play basically 80 minutes every season. My only concern with Graham is that Jimmy Maloney's gone and he had such a good connection with him on that left-hand side.
I have heard some good things about Moylan and him linking up as well.
Okay.
So I do hear, but I think he is now coming into the prime of his career as well. But I'd love to think that he's just going to keep offering that attacking stats, and even now just talking about him, I think I try and get him in, but I won't. But good pot option for you out there, I reckon.
Yeah. What about the fullback position? Obviously, Valentine's Holmes is going to start there this season. He's 450,000. Dugan's 520,000. Moylan's 520,000. The centres, the 5'8". How's it all sort of going to work out? Do you see any of them being relevant in Supercoach?
Yeah, so sort of towards the end of last year when the World Cup was on, Dugan and Holmes had that left side combo for Australia. So I thought Flano might have thought about keeping him there because they had just signed Moylan, he can play fullback. That being said, whilst that campaign was still on, I heard Flanagan come out and say Holmes will get that one spot round 1. And probably rightly so. He's sort of been there for a while now, probably waiting for it. I'm not sure. I'd love to think that... I personally think that Moylan's best position is 6. That's when he's most dangerous. Give him the ball as much as you can. He can turn something from nothing. Dugan, I thought maybe you could put him at fullback, but I'd rather Holmes there personally. So it's a good problem to have, but I like Moylan at 6. I like Holmes at 1 personally, and Dugan's now found himself in a bit of strife, so who knows what's going on there.
Yeah.
Supercoach wise, they're going to be pods, but I reckon they're going to be good ones. Like I think they're going to have some weeks where they can put some points on.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'd be tempted to maybe pick both of them if I was going to pick one of them.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how Moylan goes. He's priced at 526k, which is not a risk-free pick at that price. Rumour has it that he'll goal kick, but I know Holmes can kick as well. Holmes is about 450k. So he's another good option like for his price. So, like I said, it's a really good problem to have at the moment if you're a Sharkies fan. And Supercoach wise, you'll just have to try and pick the right one.
Now, one player that everyone's waiting for Team List Tuesday, it's only a few days away, guys, is our winger in Sione Katoa. This guy in the trials has been unbelievable. Last year in the under-20s, he led the try-scoring list with, I think, 28 tries in the under-20s. He's only a little fella. He's not that big, but he's quick. I heard some talks about how they're putting him up there with speed like Jimmy the Jet and blokes like that. So if he's that quick, He's obviously someone you've got to look at. The question remains with him, is he going to get that spot in the wing? He's got Aaron Gray, I think, is the main competition for it.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking the centre pairings and the wing pairings. I've heard all good things. I haven't seen him. I've heard about his big season last year as well. I think there's going to be every single Supercoach holding their breath on this one, because if he's not named, it's going to cause nightmares for people. I guess you'd be probably more qualified to answer this than me. I don't know what the Sharks' likelihood of like centre and winger combos are. So you've got Dugan there, you've got Gray there, you've got Fecky will take one wing.
Fecky's got one wing sewn up. That's not a worry there. I think what we're seeing is Latelli and Dugan in the centres.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure Dugan will be pairing with Fecky.
Okay.
And then Latelli hopefully with Katoa. I do think that if Aaron Gray gets the nod over Katoa, that him and Dugan will be on one side of the park. I think just that new sort of, that new side, and Latelli and Fecky will have the other side. But I think Edric Lee's out of the equation. I think he's just sort of, not all the way there.
Yeah.
Can't hold the ball either. Edric, it must be a Canberra thing. All these blokes from Canberra can't hold the ball. But look, I think obviously, we're all praying that he gets the spot Katoa, because he's who everyone's going to have. He's the cash cow we all want. So,
Good summary, mate. I forgot about the telly. So
but that's it for this week, guys. Well, that wraps us up for the third edition. We'll do the fourth edition shortly. We'll get back with the last 4 teams, and we're all looking forward to Team List Tuesday. We'll have another podcast then, and we'll see you all around.
Thanks, guys. Give us a subscribe and a like and comment and tell us what you think down below.